For NYUpInSyracuse.com, I am Matt Parrino, joined by Ryan Talbot, and it is Sunday, one day after the Buffalo Bills season came to a disappointing end. We had a late flight as opposed to a lot of our comrades on the beat, and it gave us a chance to kind of spend some time in Houston. You'll notice the city behind us, the I Love Houston sign behind us, and you know, I got a chance to go back and rewatch that game a little bit because it's kind of difficult in the moment. Obviously, a lot of emotions running through for fans. But I wanted to ask you, what was your main takeaway from this game now with 24 hours in the rearview mirror?
Well, it sounds cliche, but this is a game of inches. This is a game where one or two plays just kind of entirely flips the script. The Bills had their opportunities despite that second half collapse to come away with that win yesterday. There was a run in overtime, Josh Allen design run where it looked like Mitch Morse and possibly Dawson Knox missed an assignment, and it allowed him to get stopped. I think if he gets that block, he's off to the races. I don't know if he scores, but they're clearly in field goal range at that point. So despite everything that happened in regulation, the kickoff at the start of the second half, the Saran Neal near interception, the questionable Cody Ford penalty, they still had an opportunity to overcome that. And it's just one of those things where, like I said, one play can change the entire course of a game.
You know, one of the most painful things I think for Bills fans to take away from this game is you had every opportunity, to really win the game. And I think in a lot of ways you were the better team. What I think it came down to in the end, in the fourth quarter and overtime, is it was kind of quarterback versus quarterback. And Deshaun Watson, made the play of the game to evade what was a guaranteed sack with Saran Neal and Matt Milano having him wrapped up right there, and for him to kind of like a wizard just spin out of that play. I don't want to downplay what Josh Allen did in this game, because after going back and watching the game again, I thought he actually played a pretty good game. I thought that, some of the play calling decisions, some of the drops by his receivers or just inability to make some plays really hurt him in this game. But you go back and watch this game, and I think there's a lot of good to take away from what Josh Allen did in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. There were some passes that could have been intercepted. There was the fumble. We're not sitting here saying that he was great, that he necessarily was even the better quarterback, but he did enough to win that game. Duke Williams could have had two Dukes, still confusing me a little bit. Could have had a touchdown shortly before halftime in the end zone. I think he should have come down with that ball. I also think that there were some other missed opportunities. John Brown gets his feet down. I think he could have scored on that play as well. So, yeah, it's not all on Josh Allen. I think he actually played a pretty good game overall.
One of the big takeaways, too, from this game is the Bills have quite an emerging star running back on their hands. Devin Singletary went out, and with the opportunities that he was given, he really showed pretty well. And I think that he showed maybe that, next season and beyond, I think they should rely on him a little bit more. You saw last night, Mark Ingram gave him the shout-out, Ravens running back who's had an outstanding season and career. And I think that another one of the things that Bills fans take away from this game is that, man, what would have happened if Devin Singletary maybe got a little bit more opportunities in this game? And not only Devin Singletary, but Cole Beasley. Duke Williams comes into this game, gets activated, and I thought it was a bold and timely decision by this coaching staff, because he's coming off of a really good game, and I thought that, he did make some plays in this game, but he also had a couple drops, and Duke Williams getting targeted 10 times meant less targets for Cole Beasley and John Brown, which I think those are the guys that brought you here.
Yeah, I think Beasley especially. The short middle game is where Houston has really struggled this year. They didn't really utilize Beasley enough to my liking. Singletary, like you said, he is an emerging superstar. Do they need to get a complimentary back for him next year? Absolutely. I don't necessarily think TJ Yeldon's the answer. I don't expect Frank Gore to be back necessarily. So maybe you get one in the draft, maybe you add someone in free agency, but he should be your lead back. He should be getting more than, 13 carries in the game?
Right.
Again, overtime especially, you would have thought that he would have been utilized there when the Bills were over midfield, giving him the opportunity to help the Bills get into field goal range, especially when he was averaging around 4.5 yards per clip.
I've seen a lot of Brian Daboll hate on social media the last 24 hours. And listen, I think that Brian Daboll, just like Sean McDermott, just like Josh Allen, just like Jordan Poyer and Matt Milano, and there's a ton of players that you can, go and take a few pieces of this game and place some blame on their shoulders. And I think that that's perfectly fine. But I also think that it's a little bit ridiculous to be calling for a guy's job who in 2 years has helped develop a very erratic quarterback that was a very raw prospect coming out, who literally spends all of his time singing Brian Daboll's praises, and not to mention, Brian Daboll's a head coaching candidate in a few places this offseason. So there's obviously something that he's doing right in the building. And I also would caution fans from the approach of, I want reactionary. I understand you're going to react, but I want this done. I want this done, without offering any plan of attack with what you're going to change after you make that move.
Right, and one name I've heard on or seen on social media is Ken Dorsey. And what is giving these fans the opinion that Dorsey's going to come in here and all of a sudden make this the greatest show on turf or improve this offense? Josh Allen was very complimentary of Daboll today at Locker Cleanout, talked about how much he loves Daboll, his family, how much Daboll has helped him develop his game. You don't just get rid of a guy just because you don't like a few of the play calls. The Bills did enough yesterday to win that game offensively. Were there a few plays where you could have gone back and said, I don't understand it, I don't understand the Frank Gore usage, for example? Absolutely, but he did not do anything to consider this a fireable offense. But like you said, he's a candidate for head coaching jobs. Developing young quarterbacks is so difficult to do in this league, and yet you see the gains that Josh Allen made from year 1 to year 2. Look at Cleveland. Cleveland had Baker Mayfield. He had the rushing leader, Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry. The list goes on. Their offense wasn't much better than Buffalo's this year in terms of points per game. And I would definitely say that they had a lot more offensive firepower and talent there. The Jets, obviously, Darnold missed some time. They weren't that great in year 2 as Sam Darnold. It's not just so easy to develop a quarterback and have him just come onto the scene year 1, year 2, and be a superstar. Now, year 3 of Josh Allen, that's a whole nother conversation. At that point, you got to let him go. You play fearless, not reckless, but they have to kind of let him take that next step next year.
100%. And I think that if you take Josh Allen's game yesterday, his first playoff game at 23 years old, mind you, I think that he was exactly who we've, come to know him to be. He made some big plays. He made some plays that he would like back, and it kind of makes you cringe a little bit if you're a Bills fan, because he's got to take the care of the ball when he starts running it. 92 rushing yards yesterday, 260 through the air, no interceptions. In that game, it is what he has become. And I think that he made enough plays. Duke Williams catches that touchdown pass. John Brown catches that sideline pass. They're 1st and goal at the 2-yard line. This is a completely different game, and that leads me to the last thing I want to talk about. Bills Mafia out there hurting today on a Sunday watching these other 2 wild card games. There's hope. This is a team that's ahead of schedule. This was a winnable game on the road, but it is also going to serve long term as a lesson learned for not only Josh Allen, but a lot of young players that have the world on their shoulders. Tremaine Edmonds at 21 years old, playing big. The Bills defense is constructed to play against the modern 2020 NFL quarterback. The way that they handled Deshaun Watson when he was rushing out of the pocket yesterday, the pursuit of Tremaine Edmonds and guys like Micah Hyde and Tre'Davious White, they are built to combat some of the greatest mobile dual threat quarterbacks in this league today. And that has to have you excited. And you have playmakers, and you have $90 million in cap space, and you have 9 draft picks. Go get yourself a number 1 wide receiver, and we'll meet you back here next season. And I think good things are to come.
Oh, I agree. They just need 1 or 2 more playmakers on this offense. Keep building around Josh Allen. This is a young team on both sides of the ball. They have a lot of key pieces that are year 1, year 2, year 3. You can't keep everyone down the road, but you can keep those cornerstones, those key players. And as the time goes on, this team has a lot of promise. And, while a lot of fans were definitely upset and sad, if you count that other wild card game last night, the Patriots lost. That dynasty's on its last legs. I think it might be over. Who's to say that Buffalo cannot win the division in 2020?
In Houston, Texas, the site of a disappointing but in some ways encouraging playoff loss to the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson. I am Matt Parrino, and he is Ryan Talbot. NYUpInSyracuse.com is going to have you covered all off season long, through free agency, the draft, all the way up to minicamp and then training camp. It has been a pleasure, my friend.
Absolutely.
We love bringing you guys all the Buffalo Bills content. You're the best fans, the sports fans in the world. And hey, from Houston, it's been fun. How'd you like your first trip out
I
here?
loved it. I'm going to miss the weather.
Yes, we're going to go back to the cold. We'll see you there. Take care, guys.